he started a practice in Delhi under various senior advocates and has an immense experience in international law, civil, revenue, criminal, banking, property, and corporate matters. Ms. Prasad has also been involved. I will cut it down now. I would say that ma'am has been an active voice in the field of public policy, human rights, and evolution of human rights in India. And as I would say, words would fall short in describing the body of work and the contributions she has made to the Indian public policy and human rights space. So, ma'am, without further ado, I would request you to kindly share your thoughts on the topic for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth. That was really a bit more than what I've actually done. But it is a great moment of great honor for me and deep pride for me to be here before this August gathering, to be here before Hon'ble Ramasubramanian, before all senior advocates, such dignitaries, such senior persons. I find myself really small to share any learnings that I have done, but I will try to make a small effort in bringing Swami Vivekananda's teachings, which might be relevant for us today as young lawyers before this honorable courts, and how we practice and how we look forward to life. So, as we celebrate this Youth Day, which is the birth centenary of Swami Vivekananda, I have simplified it in a way as to how to be successful and be confident the Swami Vivekananda way. So, Swami Vivekananda ji had a way of teaching the entire world all aspects of religion, unity, gathering, Gita, Krishna, every aspect of life. But so far as the aspect how to achieve success, happiness, confidence, so I would only take little time and come forward with two aspects of how Swami Vivekananda might have put it forward. The first thing is gain strength and confidence by rejecting weakness. That is the first thing. And the second is Narayan Seva. These are the two things which I found relevant for today, working to proceed with our young lawyers, how we proceed every day. Every day we face such negativities, such weaknesses that we find ourselves weak every day. But Swami Vivekananda was against weakness. He hated weakness. So as he puts it, Swami Vivekananda said, strength is life, weakness is death. He said it is weakness which is the cause of all injury and all misery in the world. We become miserable because we think we are weak. We lie, we steal, we kill. Why? Because we are weak. We even die thinking we are weak. From our childhood, somewhere around our family, our parents, our brethren, they keep telling us that you did this thing wrong, you should have done it in some other way. And slowly this thought creeps within us that we are wrong, I am weak, I cannot fight back, what I have done is not right. And we make place within ourselves for that weakness, which is absolutely wrong. Swami Vivekananda ji said, the greatest sin is to think yourself weak. खुद जो कमजोर समझना, खुद को कमजोर समझना सबसे बड़ा पाप है. Weakness is within you. Don't blame others because others said something. You cannot achieve this, you cannot go, you cannot argue, you cannot fight, you cannot run. It is a weakness within yourself. If we fight that weakness, if we reject that weakness, we will gain strength, we will gain energy, and we will gain confidence, and we will achieve success. This is what Vivekananda ji has taught in myriads of his teachings. हम जो बोते हैं वो काटते हैं, हम स्वयं अपने भाग्य को के विधाता हैं. He said, "You are pure and perfect. You are divine. All of us are divine. We are Paramatma. We should see others as God. We see others, we will come forward with that. But so far as we are concerned, should we feel weak within ourselves? No. Weakness leads us to death. So we should reject weakness. Anything that makes you weak, physically, intellectually, spiritually, reject it as poison. The world is a great gymnasium. Swami Vivekananda said, we have come to this world which is like a gym to make yourself stronger, not to make yourself weaker. He said, take the world as a gymnasium and make yourself stronger. Whatever you think, you will achieve. If you think you are weak, you will remain weak. If you think you are strong, you will be strong. The powers of the mind are like sun rays. He said that the sun gives rays, but if you concentrate it, you shine like the sun. So in the same way, have faith within yourself and do a thing at a time. Have faith that I will do this. Take a work, do it, put your whole soul into it. Do not be afraid of anything. You will do a marvelous job. It is fearlessness. It is fearlessness that brings Paramanand. It brings success to the work and it brings happiness to the work. If you will not be fearless, if you will keep thinking that I can go wrong, that I cannot achieve, then you will go wrong. You have to grow from inside out. No one can teach you. There is no other teacher other than your own soul. You have to learn from within. You have to teach yourself from within that I can be strong, I can be strong and I can achieve it. In a day, so he's even extended it to this, that everybody has problems on earth. A human life means problems. It means struggle. But in a day, when you don't come across a problem, then you can be sure that you are traveling a wrong path. Because if you had been traveling a right path, you must have ensured some problem or the other. So be strong and stick on to it. Dare to be free, dare to go as far as your thought leads, and dare to carry that out in your life. Do not let weakness into your sight, because if you do, you will self-doubt yourself. There is no room for weakness in this world, because weakness will take you to misery. It will make you commit crimes. The only remedy for this is to be strong. Arise, awake, stop not till the goal is achieved. उठो, जागो और तब तक नहीं रुको जब तक लक्ष्य न प्राप्त हो. The second and the most important thing that we should imbibe as lawyers is Narayan Seva, Seva of mankind, serving our clients as if it is public interest, even if they are private clients, to serve them as if they are a member of the public. Because the moment we serve our clients as Narayan Seva, we will achieve success, happiness and strength in doing that work. Because as Swami Vivekananda put it, he called the world a Brahman where all the particles are connected to each other. All human beings, all animals, all particles are connected to each other. So if you do one good at one point of time, you do good to one person, but it will come back to you and you will be the ultimate beneficiary of the good which you did to the other. So therefore he said that being in that Brahman, to maintain that balance, we have to help each other. Brahman means helping others is helping yourself. The more we come out and do good to others, the more our hearts will be purified and God will ensure we achieve success. They alone live who live for others. This is what Swami Vivekananda said, and I hope and pray all of us achieve highest of levels of success and happiness, following the path laid down by Swami Vivekananda. Thank you.
Moving forward, may I request Sonia Dhamija ji to kindly give introduction for Aishwarya.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. Aishwarya Bharti ma'am is the youngest woman advocate to be designated as a senior advocate by the Supreme Court of India. She also has the distinction of being one of the youngest additional Solicitor General of India and being the only fourth woman to occupy this coveted position. Aishwarya Bharti ma'am was twice elected. Now we have a pleasure to have you.
This is a family, so I thought not to embarrass myself. My warm pronouns to one and all. I think it's an honor for me. Must start on a personal note that as I stand here before you, I am deeply indebted to my family who has stood up with me and showered me with affection and love, which has allowed me to step one step at a time. So I'm deeply grateful for that. I gave out our secret to the Honorable Judge here. I told him that in the corridors we address him as Honorable Justice Tenali Ramakrishnan. And that is purely for the wit that we experience in the courtroom and the light moments that we get to enjoy. We are grateful to have you, sir. I wanted to share a small story. So, when Swami Vivekananda, in the process that he left his Guru's ashram and was on a tour across India first, across the length and breadth, he would go to the king's palaces and the homeless and the wanderers. He would stay with them months at end. One of those visits in my home state, in the kingdom of Khetri, he was visiting the king, and there was a performance arranged by a very famous dancer who was very renowned in that kingdom. Rajasthan earlier was a collection of princely states, so this was the princely state of Khetri, close to Alwar. And when Swami Vivekananda got to know that this dance had been arranged and he was invited for that, he refused. He said, as a sannyasi, it does not, my ethos, my value system does not permit me to participate and witness and be part of the courtroom. When the dancer heard this, she was hurt, she was disappointed. But she was a very witty woman. So she, in her song, conveyed, so I had read the story long back, I googled it again to find the story so I could remember the lyrics of, so I could tell you the meaning of the words in her song. And her song was a song which had this message that it's the same iron that goes in the formation of the deity in the temple, and it's the same iron that goes in the butcher's knife. It's the same drop of water. When it goes in a muddy puddle, it becomes something else, and when it falls on a lotus, it becomes something else. It falls on, inside the shell, it becomes a pearl. So, how can you distinguish me from yourself? And just because my circumstances have taken me to be a dancer, and you have become a sannyasi, how can you look down upon me just because I'm a dancer? And Swami Vivekananda, I've read it in one of the books, that this changed his perspective. So he said before, earlier he would walk on, if there was a theater or anything, he would walk on the other side of the road, thinking that as a sannyasi, it is not his business to even be on that side of the road. But this changed his perspective, and he embraced oneness in the true sense. And I think this, to my mind, is the biggest lesson that we can learn from Swami Vivekananda's life and his teachings. It will be easy for Earth to think that I am the precious blue planet. I am the only planet in the solar system that has water, that has life, that has atmosphere. But it would be foolish for Earth to think like it can exist without the solar system, without the sun, even without, sun gives all the energy, but even the moon, the power of the moon makes the oceans go, the rise and ebb of the waves or the seasons, etc., its own revolution, rotation. So I think each one of us needs to understand and appreciate that we are nothing, nobody, without being part of the larger solar system, the larger cosmos. Some of our mantras on pious occasions, Antariksha Shanti, Prithvi Shanti. That is the culture and the ethos of our civilization, our learnings. And I feel that as lawyers, we have the privilege of becoming healers, of becoming social doctors, social teachers. People come to us in their times of desperation. If we can feel grateful that God has put us in this position that we can be of help to others, I feel our journey will be much easier, and I think we will be able to discharge our duties as a lawyer also in a much more effective manner. Thank you very much. I think we should all hear Justice and be enthralled by his wisdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aishwarya ji. We also have Senior Advocate Mr. Ramakrishnan Veera Raghavan, who's amongst us. We also extend our warm welcome to him. We also have Shri Hari Gurikarji, our Organizing Secretary for the Northern Zone. We extend our warm welcome to him as well. To Sudesh ji also. Moving forward, may I now request Sindhura ji. May I request Sindhura ji to kindly come and give a small introduction for our Chief Guest, Honorable Justice Ramasubramanian.
Hello everyone. Thank you, ma'am, for those kind words. They were really important lessons that you've learned from it. Our next speaker is someone who needs no introduction. Justice V. Ramasubramanian completed his LLB from Madras Law College and joined the bar in 1983. Before being elevated to the bench, he practiced law for a variety of judicial forums for around 23 years, including before the Madras High Court, Central and State Administrative Tribunals, City and Small Causes Court, State Consumer Commission and District Forum. Although his areas of practice were diverse, he specialized in service matters. He was appointed as an additional judge of the Madras High Court in July 2006, where he went on to become a permanent judge in November 2009. He continued to serve in the Madras High Court until 2016, when he was transferred to the Common High Court for Andhra Pradesh and Telangana upon his request. When the High Court was bifurcated in 2019, he was retained as a judge of the High Court of Telangana. In June 2019, he took charge as the Chief Justice of Himachal Pradesh High Court. Justice Ramasubramanian has immense contribution to Tamil language. He has authored a book in Tamil on the principles of law and justice in Kamba Ramayana. Kambanil Sattamam Nitiyam. I'm so sorry, sir, if I have mispronounced it. He also wrote a series of articles under the caption Beyond Science in a Tamil newspaper for 27 weeks. Justice Ramasubramanian added new vocabulary to the language of Tamil by running a column in a Tamil newspaper under the caption Sol Vettai for 50 weeks on the same lines as Barbara Wallroff ran a column for Atlantic Times under the caption Word Court and Word Fugitive. Many readers of the newspaper got involved in this exercise, and one of them was actually serving a life sentence in Pural prison. As a mark of recognition of the involvement of a life convict in this exercise, the judge got the life convict out on parole for the book release function and made the life convict sit on the dais with him and receive the first copy of the book. After the bifurcation and creation of a separate High Court for the state of Andhra Pradesh, he was retained as a judge of High Court of Telangana at Hyderabad from January 1st, 2019. At the time of his appointment as Judge of Supreme Court, Justice Ramasubramanian was at 42nd number in the nationwide seniority list. The Supreme Court Collegium, while recommending Justice Ramasubramanian, said it is conscious of the fact that in the seniority of judges hailing from the Madras High Court, he is second in position, and after his appointment, there will be 2 judges on the bench of the Supreme Court from the Madras High Court. Justice Ramasubramanian's subject matter expertise in service law appears to have influenced his allocation of work as a judge. An analysis of available data indicates that a large percentage of his judgments is in the area of service law. However, other other areas in which he has authored a substantial number of judgments are civil, education, excise and direct taxation. Justice Ramasubramanian has given some notable judgments in the field of intellectual property rights as well. Of note is his judgment in Constant Info Private Limited versus Google India Private Limited, wherein he denied an interim injunction against Google for its keyword suggestion tool. The decision rendered by Justice Ramasubramanian in Constant Info Private Limited versus Google India was hailed as the first decision in India on the question of infringement of trademark by an internet search engine through its ad word policy. This decision was hailed by IPR experts as an encyclopedia on the legal issues involved. In the Internet and Mobile Association of India versus Reserve Bank of India, which is popularly known as the Bitcoin judgment, a bench comprising of Justice Nariman Aniruddha Bose and Justice Ramasubramanian set aside the RBI circular. This circular had prevented financial services from trading in cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Authoring the judgment, Justice Ramasubramanian reasoned that RBI's circular imposed disproportionate restrictions, observing that it had failed to demonstrate that virtual currencies trading causes harm to banks and other types of financial institutions. In effect, the judgment opens up India to cryptocurrencies. There are many other judgments that Justice Ramasubramanian has given. Most of them are notable. So please, maybe.
A very good evening to all of you. At the outset, I congratulate Adhivakta Parishad for gathering such a huge number of lawyers, especially at 5 o'clock on a working day. If it had been my home state, we would have had judicial officers as captive audience for any such meeting. It shows the involvement of young lawyers in Adhivakta Parishad. Therefore, I congratulate the organizers for I have always been accustomed to addressing either half-empty halls or halls with captive audiences. This is the first time I am addressing a gathering of audience full of energy, enthusiasm and whatnot. Mr. Joshi made an opening remark which was very attractive. At least I was very happy about that opening remark. He said instead of having all senior citizens on the dais, today we have chosen to have only youngsters on the dais. I thought that was the reason why I was there. He also mentioned about, I think Ms. Garima Prasad mentioned, or Mr. Joshi mentioned about the Swami Vivekananda's quotes being, Swami Vivekananda's sayings being quoted in judgments. I remember in one of the earliest judgments, which I had an occasion to author in Madras in 2006 or so, I quoted Swami Vivekananda. The occasion was like this. A teacher training institute which had no infrastructure came to court asking for a direction to the regulatory authority for granting approval for starting a course. About 100 years ago, people used to have all infrastructure in place before they started education institutions. Now the rule is that you must start an education institution, collect money and thereafter go to court, take permission and have infrastructure if you have some residual money left. So we have turned the lot completely topsy-turvy. So I was aghast at this. So I began my judgment by quoting Swami Vivekananda like this. I said, Swami Vivekananda said, education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. If Vivekananda were alive today, he would have said, education is the manifestation of perversion already in man. So I have also had an occasion to quote Swami Vivekananda. Ms. Garima Prasad in her talk spoke about mind being the cause for weakness and strength. That statement of Swami Vivekananda stems from the Upanishadic saying. The Upanishads declare, Manayeva Manushyanam Karanam Bandamokshaye. The meaning is, mind is the root cause for both bondage and salvation. But this sentence is a very tricky sentence. Bondage comes when two things join together. Salvation comes when two things are separated. In more mundane terms, bondage comes out of Fevicol. Salvation comes out of scissor. Upanishads say, mind can at the same time be a Fevicol and a scissor. How is it possible? How is it possible? Swami Bhagwan Ramakrishna gives us a very interesting parable. Once upon a time, a fellow thought, why people go to forest, sit in Padmasana, close their eyes and do meditation? Is it not possible for people to do meditation with eyes wide open? This thought came to him because he had not seen Judges. How to do meditation with eyes wide open is the forte of some of the judges, not me. Don't attribute all these things to me. So he went to the forest. He sat under a tree in Padmasana. With eyes wide open, he started doing tapas. From 6 o'clock in the morning. At 8 o'clock, a young girl with a pot walked across towards the pond to fetch water. The moment he saw her, this man who had gone to do tapas thought, what a lovely girl she is. Then after a few seconds, he collected himself. This is a story told by Ramakrishna. Then after a few seconds, he thought, no, it's very wrong. I have come here to do tapas. I should not have done this. This is perhaps the reason why people choose to close their eyes. Today, one of the Panchendriyas, namely eyes, have deceived me. Therefore, better to do tapas by closing eyes. So the next day, he closed his eyes and started doing tapas. At 8 o'clock, same time, he heard the sound of the anklets. Then he thought, oh, is this the same girl who came yesterday or a different girl? Then he realized he has come here to do tapas. Thought, no. Today, the second Panchendriya, namely my ears, have deceived me. Therefore, I should plug not only my eyes but also my ears. So he plugged both. Third day came. 8 o'clock. Nothing could be seen, nothing could be heard, but he had a wonderful fragrance of jasmine flowers. I am talking about those days when women had jasmine flowers and the tilak on their forehead. Then he thought, is it the same girl or a different girl? After a few seconds he realized, no, I have come here to do tapas. I should not be directed towards all this. He collected himself and proceeded. Next day he plugged his nose also and started breathing through his mouth. 8 o'clock arrived, eyes could not see, nothing could be heard, there was no fragrance. But the mind thought, Arey Baba, now it should be 8 o'clock. Has the girl come or gone? Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, is it the Panchendriyas which became the culprits, or is it actually your mind which became the culprit? It is actually your mind which is the culprit these Panchendriyas, Vishaya Vasana, the Upanishads call this as Vishaya Vasana. The Panchendriyas simply carried the message to the mind, and the moment the mind got polluted, Panchendriyas got liberated. Now it is your responsibility to do whatever you want. So mind has got such a wonderful strength, and it is important for us to have that control. And after all, what is weakness and what is strength? You must understand. The Confucius, the greatest Chinese philosopher, he talks about what is strength and what is weakness. Very interesting. He says, what in life you consider as weak, over a period of time becomes strong. What you think in life to be strong at one point of time becomes weak over a period of time. This is not just an abstract sentence that Confucius says. Confucius gives you examples. What are the examples? He gives the example of yin and yang. Yin and yang is man and woman. He says, you look at a couple at a young age, the man looks strong, the woman looks very weak. Look at the same couple when they have reached their 80s, the man is weak and the woman is strong. Over a period of time, weak overcomes the strong is the message of life that Confucius carried to us. He gives another example. Look at water and rock. If you see water and rock, water is weak, rock is strong. But if water keeps on falling on a rock over a period of time, the rock gives way for the water. Then Confucius asks, who is strong, who is weak? This becomes a principle of relativity, and that is why the emphasis on how to make your mind very strong. Dear friends, Swami Vivekananda occupied a very unique place, especially insofar as legal fraternity is concerned. Throughout the world, lawyers produced children who became lawyers. But Vishwanath Datta is the only lawyer who produced one of the greatest monks of the world. So I think we must all aim to produce not lawyers at home. We must aim to produce Vivekanandas at home. Only then we can achieve the high ideals that he preached. What is my special connection to the memory of Swami Vivekananda? All of you know that I did my chemistry graduation in Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda College, Chennai. Apart from this connection, I have had a few other connections associated with the memory of Swami Vivekananda. For 20 years as a school student and a college student, I lived in a place called Triplicane. How many of, except those from Madras, how many of you have known Triplicane? You have, 20%. Triplicane you have not heard of. You have heard of, very good. Triplicane is the place from where Vivekananda was first influenced to go to the Chicago Parliamentary religions. Therefore, I belong to a place which gave Swami, which made Vivekananda out of Narendranath Datta. Do you know how? It was during 1891, 92, 1891 end and 1892 beginning, that Swami Vivekananda traveled across the country as a wandering monk. He lands up in Chennai, what is now Chennai. He landed up in Madras Presidency in Chennai. When he landed up, he was actually housed in as a guest of a person called Manmadanath Bhattacharya. How many of you have heard about Alasinga Perumal? Alasinga Perumal is a who sold the jewels of his wife to collect money and send it to Swami Vivekananda when he was abroad. That Alasinga Perumal was an alumnus of a school called Hindu High School, where I studied from 7th standard to 11th standard. That was the special connection that I have with places associated with the memory of Swami Vivekananda. There is a street called Nagojirao Lane. That is the lane in Triplicane in which Alasinga Perumal, Parthasarathi Iyengar, all of them used to have frequent meetings. And do you know one thing? Swami Vivekananda gave the first ever public address in Triplicane Literary Society, where I lived for 20 years. It was at that time, when he came to Chennai as a wandering monk, it was at that time that the invitation for sending some representative of Hinduism to the World Parliament of Religions was received by the professors of Presidency College. The professors to whom the invitation had come were very orthodox Brahmins who would not go out of the country, because those days it was considered that if you cross a motion, you will be excommunicated from the caste. So they refused to go. It was at that time that Swami Vivekananda had landed up in Triplicane and made friendship with Alasinga Perumal and Parthasarathi Iyengar. Then all of them suggested that Vivekananda, an English-speaking monk who has in-depth knowledge of Hinduism, can be sent as a representative. To put Vivekananda to test, this Alasinga Perumal Parthasarathi Iyengar organized the first ever public meeting for Vivekananda in Triplicane Literary Society, where Vivekananda spoke on Bhagavad Gita. It was from then on Swami Vivekananda became greatest public speaker. Therefore, I belong to a place which made Vivekananda out of Narendranath Datta. And you know, if you read the letters of Swami Vivekananda, you will find a lot of letters addressed to Alasinga Perumal. Swami Vivekananda used to address him as not dear Alasinga, he will address him, oh Alasinga, as if he was calling him by name. And one of the earliest letters that he sent on 20th August 1893, after reaching America when he was left without much money, just see what he writes. Swami Vivekananda writes, that is before the Parliament of Religions. The expense, oh Alasinga, the expense I am bound to run into here is awful. You remember, you gave me 170 rupees in notes and 9 rupee in cash. It has come down to 130 now. On an average, it costs me 1 rupee a day. A cigar costs 8 annas of our money. All those rosy ideas we had before starting have melted, and I have now to fight against impossibilities. When you have no money, you know, this is the mindset that even a wandering monk gets when you don't have money. And this all of us have realized very well, therefore we don't take the risk of not being without money. And he proceeds. 100 times, Swami Vivekananda said, 100 times I had a mind to go out of the country and come back to India. After such a struggle, I am not going to give up easily. Only try your best to help me as much as you can. And even if you cannot, I must try to the end. Look at what he writes to Alasinga. And even if I die of cold or disease or hunger here, You take up the task. Holiness, sincerity, and faith. I left instructions with cooks to forward any letter or money to me wherever I am. Rome was not built in a day. If you can keep Alashinga, if you can keep me here for 6 months at least, I hope everything will come right. In the meantime, I am trying my best to find any plank I can float upon. And if I find out any means to support myself, I shall write to you immediately. Then Alashinga collects about 4,000 rupees by collecting money from his friends and by selling some of the jewelry of his wife. Look at the sacrifices people have made. Without sacrifice, nothing can be achieved. That is why it is said by Upanishads, na karmana, na prajaya, dhanena, tyagena yeke amrtatva manasu. A person can attain immortality not by wealth, not by prosperity, not by duty, but by sacrifice. Na karmana, na prajaya, na dhane, na tyagena yeke amrtatva manasu. Then when he collects money, there is yet another connection. In Triplicane, we have a 8th century temple, a Vaishnava temple called Parthasarathi Swami temple. Parthasarathi, most of you must be aware. Partha is Arjuna. Sarathi is his charioteer. So, Lord Krishna's name is Parthasarathi because he was the charioteer for Arjuna. There is a very famous 8th century temple in Triplicane for Parthasarathi. What is so special about this temple is that, in all South Indian temples, you will find there is a Mula Vigraha and a Utsava Vigraha. Mula Vigraha will be implanted on the earth. It cannot be moved. It is pasted. It is fastened to earth. The Utsava Vigraha is mobile. It will be taken out in processions. This Mula Vigraha and the Utsava Vigraha are compulsorily part and parcel of every South Indian temple, signifying what we call in science as potential energy and kinetic energy. Potential energy does not move out. Kinetic energy keeps moving. This is what is signified by Utsava Murti and Mula Vigraha. This Parthasarathi temple's Utsava Murti, there is a speciality. If you have an occasion to go to Chennai, Triplicane, and go to this temple just to see the Utsava Vigraha made in the 8th century, the face of the deity will contain lot of perforations. When the sculptor made this Utsava Murti, repeatedly the face, he could not give a smooth surface to the face. Pores started developing on the face very frequently. The king thought that this fellow is not doing a good job. He wanted to punish the sculptor. When sculptor prayed to God as to why this was happening, Lord appeared in the dream on the king and told him that after all, he is sculpting the image of the charioteer of Arjuna. Don't you remember in the war on the 3rd day, Bhishma attacked me with so many arrows, I had lot of pores on my face, and that is why this Utsava Vigraha has come like this. Don't honor this Utsava. And what is so important about this Parthasarathi temple? Whenever he had time, Swami Vivekananda visited Parthasarathi temple and worshipped Parthasarathi. Where do you find evidence? You find evidence in the letter written by Swami Vivekananda to Alashinga. Let me read out one such letter which he writes to Alashinga. See what Vivekananda says. O Alashinga, go now this minute to the temple of Parthasarathi. Sri Krishna as Sarathi charioteer of Partha or Arjuna. And before him, who was friend to the poor and lowly cowherds of Gokula, who never shrank to embrace the Paraya Guhaka, who accepted the invitation of a prostitute in preference to that of the nobles and saved her in his incarnation as Buddha. Yeah, down on your faces before him and make a great sacrifice. The sacrifice of a whole life for them, for whom he comes from time to time, whom he loves above all, the poor, the lowly, and the oppressed. This is the letter he writes, mentioning about Parthasarathi temple, and this particular letter is now inscribed in a stone and kept in Parthasarathi temple in Triplicate. So this is my attachment to Swami Vivekananda. What happens to the Parliament of Religions? All of you know that the Parliament of Religions was convened to mark the 400th anniversary of the discovery of America. As part of the 400th anniversary, they organized a huge conference of huge Parliament of Religions with a view to showcase the supremacy of Abrahamic religions, particularly Christianity. Therefore, invitees from all the religions, scholars of all religions had gathered there to present, to showcase the best of their religions, best of their religious beliefs. What happened on the first day, 11th September 1893? Most of you may be aware of the significance of the number 108. In Hindu Shastras, you know the significance of number 108. All our beads contain 108. Look at this 108 number. 1893 plus 108. How much does it come to? At 5:30 in the evening, don't ask us to do calculations. We have a counting machine at home. We don't do that. 1893 plus 108 is 2001. What was the date on which Swami Vivekananda addressed the Parliament of Religions? 11th September. According to me, within a gap of 108 years, America was blasted on 11th September twice. First by Swami Vivekananda and the World Parliament of Religions, next by Al-Qaeda. That the country had to be rocked in completely different ways is a mystery, but it is part of history. And what happened on the dais? All of them were seated on the dais. People have written about how Swami Vivekananda spoke on that occasion. But let me read out what Swami Vivekananda himself wrote to Alasinga Perumal about what happened on that day. Because we all obey primary evidence. Only in the absence of primary evidence secondary evidence is permissible. So we will talk in lawyer's language. On 2nd November 1893, Vivekananda writes to Alasinga Perumal on what exactly happened on that day. I am just reading out what he writes. I quote, "On the morning of the opening of the Parliament, we all assembled in a building called the Art Palace, where one huge and other smaller temporary halls were erected for the sittings of the Parliament. Men from all nations were there. From India were Mazumdar of the Brahmo Samaj and Nagarkar of Bombay, Mr. Gandhi representing the Jains, different Gandhi, and Mr. Chakravarti representing Theosophy with Annie Besant. That time Annie Besant had joined this Optical Society. Of these, Mazumdar and I, this is what Vivekananda writes, of these, Mazumdar and I were of course old friends, and Chakravarti knew me by name. There was a grand procession, and we were all marshaled onto the platform. Imagine a hall below and a huge gallery above, packed with 6,000 or 7,000 men and women representing the best culture of the country, and on the platform, learned men of all the nations of the earth. And I, who never spoke in public in my life, to address this august assemblage. It was opened in great form with music and ceremony and speeches. Then the delegates were introduced one by one, and they stepped up and spoke. Of course, my heart was fluttering and my tongue nearly dried up for Vivekananda. We have the same experience with him, but we don't become Vivekananda, that's all. Then the delegate, of course, my heart was fluttering and my tongue nearly dried up. I was so nervous and could not venture to speak in the morning. In fact, his turn came in the morning. When he was asked to go to the dais, he said, I'll speak next. Because to speak as the last speaker, there are some advantages. You can wind up your speech as and when the audience give an indication. Look at what Swami says. I was a fool, I had none, but bowed down to Devi Saraswati and stood up. Dr. Barrows introduced me. I made a short speech. I addressed the assembly as sisters and brothers of America. A deafening applause for 2 minutes followed, and then I proceeded. And when it was finished, I sat down, almost exhausted with emotion. The next day, all the papers announced that my speech was the hit of the day, and I became known to the whole of America. Truly, has it been said by the great commentator Sridhara, Mukam karoti vachalam, pankum lankayade girim. What is not possible for goddess, she can make even the dumb speak. Mukam karoti vachalam, pankum lankayade girim. Truly has it been said by the great commentator Sridhara, Mukam karoti vachalam, pankum lankayade girim. Who maketh the dumb a fluent speaker, his name be praised. From that day, I became a celebrity. And the day I read my paper of Hinduism, the hall was packed as it had never been before. I quote from you from one of the papers, what one of the newspapers reported. Ladies, ladies, ladies packing every place, filling every corner. They patiently waited and waited while the papers that separated them from Vivekananda were read. You would be astonished if I sent over to you the newspaper cuttings. What follows next is important. You would be astonished if I sent over to you the newspaper cuttings, but you already know that I am a hater of celebrity. Suffice it to say that whenever I went on the platform, a deafening applause would be raised for me. Nearly all the newspapers paid high tributes to me, and even the most bigoted had to admit that this man with his handsome face and a magnetic presence and wonderful oratory is the most prominent figure in the parliament. In fact, he had a doubt whether he will be allowed to participate in the parliament because he did not carry credentials. When he met Dr. Barrows and told him that I don't carry any credentials as a representative of the Hinduism, Dr. Barrows said, to ask you, Swami, for credentials is like asking the sun its right to shine. Who will ask the sun credentials for its right to shine? To ask you, Swami, for credentials is like asking the sun its right to shine. When he introduced Swami Vivekananda, he said, here is a man from India who is more learned than all the Harvard professors put together. That is how he introduced. What did the newspapers report on the next day? New York Herald reported. This is what New York Herald said. Swami Vivekananda is undoubtedly the greatest figure in the Parliament of Religions. After hearing him, we feel how foolish it is to send missionaries to this learned nation. In fact, I had a very wonderful teacher in college by name. I didn't attend his classes. He had retired by then, Professor Jagannathacharya. He used to say, How can the New York Herald say, after hearing him, how we feel how foolish it is to send missionaries to this learned nation? After hearing the speech of one man, is it possible for people? This question, my teacher used to say, quote an example from cricket. He will say, 1965 or so, England versus Australia, there was a 5-day cricket match. England scored 350 all out in the first innings. Australia started batting, first wicket was out, Brodman came. Brodman scored 356. Next day the papers reported England versus Brodman. After saying this, my professor used to say, if one man, Brodman, can represent Australia, why not one man, Vivekananda, get us credit for being And another interesting aspect of Swami Vivekananda's life, Raja of Ramanathapuram Raja, was one of the persons who collected money for Swami Vivekananda's trip to America from Tamil Nadu. Therefore, on his way back, after a successful tour of America, Swamiji comes by ship to Colombo. He landed up in Colombo on 15th January 1897, and from Colombo, he landed up in the Indian soil at Pamban, which is in Rameshwar. You know, Rameshwar, I don't know how many of you know, Ramsetu. Okay, if I say Ramsetu, you may understand. So, Rameshwar near Pamban, just look at this date. Swamiji lands up, after successful completion of the foreign trip, he lands up in Hon'ble on 26th January 1897. Exactly 50 years later, on the same day, India attains independence. 26th January 1947. When he landed up in Hon'ble, the Raja of Ramnath was there to receive him. And you know what the Raja did? He said, "Oh Swamiji, don't set your foot on the soil. I will place it on my head." And he let loose the horses, and he and the other disciples, they drew the chariot by themselves. So I used to say, if Bengal gave birth to Narendranath Datta, it was Tamil Nadu who produced Vivekananda Datta. And there is nothing to be, Mrs. Banerjee need not be worried about this. Because I will tell you what. Bengal is like Devaki. Tamil Nadu is like Yashoda. Yeah. Devaki gave birth to Krishna, but unfortunately Yashoda had to bring up Krishna. Therefore, this concept of somebody giving birth and somebody enjoying is known to our Vedic literature. You know how it calls Annavan, Annadhan. Whenever you make a prayer, you always pray to the God, "Oh God." The Vedic recitation, it goes like this. Annavan Annadho Bhavati, Mahan Bhavati Prajaya Pasubhit Brahmavarjasena, Mahan Kirtya. That's how it goes. So Annavan Annadho Bhavati means, Annavan means, "Oh God, give me all the wealth." Annavan means, "Give me the ability to enjoy the wealth." Otherwise, what happens is, if you ask God, "I must own 100 sugar mills," He will give you along with diabetes. So you will own 100 sugar mills, but you can't take a single spoon of sugar. So people were very cautious, and they said, "Give me all the wealth and give me the ability to enjoy all the wealth." To conclude, I would say, in fact, Triplicane has got one more place called ISIL. ISIL was the place where there was a building called Castle Kernel. It was bought over by Belagiri Iyengar, and that is the house in which Swami Vivekananda stayed for 9 days. I lived in the same road, Dr. Besant Road, in which ISIL was located as a small boy. Then ultimately, when Vivekananda was about to leave, he did not cross 39. He predicted that he will not be alive to see 40. This is what he said. if there were another Vivekananda, then he would have understood what this Vivekananda had done. And yet, how many Vivekanandas shall be born in time? In the beginning of his mission, Swamiji said, I am a voice without a form. Towards the end, Swami Vivekananda said, it may be that I shall find it good to get outside of my body, to cast it off like a disused garment, but I shall not cease to work. I shall inspire men everywhere until the world shall know that it is one with God. And that is the message which I think we should all carry. Thank you very much.